In July 2025, the world watched as Iran and Israel's shadow war exploded into a direct 12-day missile conflict. For nearly 2 weeks, both nations exchanged heavy fire, marking a dangerous escalation in their rivalry. Unlike past proxy battles, this was a direct confrontation. Missiles targeted the heartlands of both countries. Tehran boldly claimed over 90% of its missiles hit their targets, a figure hotly contested by Israel and its allies. This video unpacks the events, Iran's claims, the human cost, and the international fallout from a war that redrew the region's strategic map. As the dust settles, the world is left questioning the effectiveness of modern warfare and the fragile balance of power in the Middle East. For years, the Middle East simmered with tension, as Iran and Israel eyed each other warily across a landscape shaped by decades of rivalry, suspicion, and shadow wars. On June 13, 2025, that fragile balance was shattered in a single night, sending shockwaves across the globe and plunging the region into chaos. The world awoke to breaking news. Israel had launched a daring and unprecedented strike deep inside Iranian territory, targeting what it claimed were facilities on the verge of producing nuclear weapons. The operation was swift, precise, and devastating, catching Iranian defenses off guard and leaving the international community scrambling for answers. Israel's Air Force and intelligence services coordinated to hit multiple nuclear and missile sites simultaneously, crippling key elements of Iran's strategic arsenal. This marked a dramatic escalation, moving the conflict from years of covert sabotage and cyber attacks to open, undeniable warfare. As news of the attack spread, world leaders rushed to convene emergency meetings, fearing the conflict could spiral beyond the region. The United Nations called for restraint, but the momentum for war was already unstoppable. In Tehran, the government condemned the attack as a blatant violation of its sovereignty and an act of war. Iranian leaders appeared on national television, vowing swift and forceful retaliation, while crowds took to the streets in anger and defiance. Within hours, Iran's Revolutionary Guard was mobilized. Missile units were placed on high alert, convoys moved under cover of darkness, and military commanders prepared for a massive response that would soon rock the region. The initial Israeli strike had crossed a red line, igniting a cycle of escalation that neither side could control. Military command centers in both countries buzzed with activity, as leaders weighed their next moves in a rapidly deteriorating situation. Years of distrust, proxy battles, and political maneuvering had finally erupted into direct confrontation. Both nations now believed their very survival was at stake, and neither was willing to back down. Across the Middle East, ordinary people watched in fear and uncertainty, bracing for the consequences of a war between two of the region's most powerful adversaries, a conflict that threatened to reshape the future of the entire region. In a move that stunned the world, Iran unleashed an unprecedented barrage, over 500 ballistic missiles launched at Israel in just 12 days. The night skies above the region were lit up with streaks of fire, as wave after wave of missiles arced toward their targets. This was not just a show of force, it was a calculated campaign designed to test the limits of Israel's defenses and send a clear message to the international community. The campaign aimed to overwhelm Israel's advanced air defense systems, including the renowned Iron Dome and Arrow batteries, by launching missiles in rapid succession. Iran's strategy was to saturate the skies, hoping that some warheads would slip through the protective shield and strike strategic military and infrastructure targets deep inside Israel. Despite Israel's best efforts, reports confirmed that at least 5 Israeli military bases, including key airfields and intelligence hubs, were hit. The damage ranged from destroyed runways to compromised surveillance equipment, temporarily disrupting Israel's ability to coordinate its defense. Iran's missiles, some equipped with advanced guidance systems and capable of evasive maneuvers at speeds up to Mach 10, posed a formidable challenge even for the most sophisticated interceptors. These new-generation missiles demonstrated a leap in Iranian military technology, making interception far more difficult than in previous conflicts. The psychological impact on Israeli society was immense. Air raid sirens became a daily reality, echoing through cities and towns at all hours. Millions of Israelis were forced to seek shelter, sometimes multiple times a day, as the threat of incoming missiles loomed overhead. The constant fear and uncertainty took a heavy toll on civilians, disrupting daily life and leaving lasting scars. Iran's offensive showcased not only its technological progress, but also its willingness to sustain high-intensity warfare over an extended period. The sheer volume and persistence of the attacks signaled a new era in regional conflict, where missile barrages could be maintained for days on end. For the first time in its history, Israel faced a direct, sustained missile threat from Iran itself, rather than from proxy forces. The sight of missile trails crisscrossing the sky above major cities became a stark reminder of the changing nature of warfare in the Middle East. The barrage proved that Iran could threaten Israel's core military assets, shaking long-held assumptions about regional security and forcing both nations, and the world, to reconsider the balance of power in the Middle East. After the ceasefire, Iran's leaders declared victory, claiming a 90% missile hit rate. Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf touted this as proof of Iran's military prowess and a blow to Israel's missile defenses. Tehran argued its advanced missiles struck intended targets, dismissing Israeli reports of widespread interceptions as propaganda. The claim was meant to boost Iran's deterrence and project strength to allies and adversaries alike. International analysts, however, were skeptical. Such accuracy is rare in real combat, especially against robust defenses. Without independent verification, Iran's success rate remains a central, unresolved question of the conflict. The war's human toll became a battleground of competing narratives. Iran claimed up to 500 Israeli fatalities and thousands wounded, painting a picture of devastation. Israel reported just 28 deaths and about 1,400 casualties, crediting its defenses and emergency response. Both sides used these figures to reinforce their own stories of victory and resilience. International observers struggled to verify either account, as access to impact sites was tightly controlled. The true casualty count remains obscured by propaganda and the fog of war. The information war over casualties mirrored the physical conflict, intense, strategic, and unresolved. Israel's multi-layered air defense network, anchored by the Iron Dome, Arrow 2, and Arrow 3 systems, has long been considered among the most sophisticated in the world. Designed to intercept and destroy incoming threats from rockets to ballistic missiles, these systems form the backbone of Israel's national security strategy, providing a protective shield over its cities, military bases, and critical infrastructure. But in the latest confrontation, this shield faced its most daunting challenge yet, as Iran unleashed an unprecedented barrage of missiles and drones, testing the very limits of Israel's defensive capabilities. Over 200 interceptors were launched in rapid succession, working around the clock to counter more than 500 Iranian missiles and drones. The sheer scale and intensity of the attack pushed the system to its operational edge, with the cost of this single night of defense estimated at a staggering $1.5 billion. While Israeli officials reported that the vast majority of incoming threats were intercepted or fell harmlessly in open areas, several missiles managed to evade the defenses and struck key military installations, causing damage and raising serious concerns. These breaches exposed the inherent limitations of even the world's most advanced missile shield, reminding everyone that no system is infallible, especially under the pressure of massed, coordinated attacks. For Israeli military planners and defense experts around the globe, Iran's ability to penetrate these layers of protection was a sobering wake-up call. It underscored the evolving nature of modern warfare, where offense and defense are locked in a constant race for technological superiority. The conflict also highlighted the immense economic and strategic challenges of defending against large-scale missile attacks. Each interceptor fired comes with a hefty price tag, raising questions about the long-term sustainability of such high-intensity defense. Ultimately, while Israel's shield held firm in many respects, it was not without significant breaches and costly lessons. The events made clear that absolute security remains elusive, even for the most advanced nations. This war provided invaluable real-world data for military analysts, offering new insights into the rapidly evolving offense-defense race in missile warfare, and setting the stage for the next chapter in this ongoing struggle. As the conflict escalated, the U.S., Israel's key ally, shifted from observer to direct participant. On June 22, American forces struck Iranian nuclear sites, aiming to halt any weapons program advancement. Iran retaliated by attacking the U.S. Al Udeid airbase in Qatar, bringing the region to the brink of wider war. Intense diplomacy followed, with President Trump announcing a fragile ceasefire on June 23. The U.S. intervention helped end the fighting but deepened animosity with Tehran. The episode underscored how quickly a regional conflict can draw in global powers. The ceasefire was a pause, not a resolution, to the underlying tensions. At the heart of the war was the unresolved question of Iran's nuclear ambitions. Israel and the U.S. accused Iran of pursuing nuclear weapons, citing enrichment and missile development as evidence. Tehran insisted its program was peaceful, denouncing the attacks as illegal and baseless. The International Atomic Energy Agency complicated matters, stating it had no concrete proof of an active Iranian weapons program. This disconnect fueled debate. Was the war a necessary preemptive strike or a dangerous overreach? The strikes raised fears about nuclear security and environmental risks. The nuclear standoff remains more volatile than ever, with no clear resolution in sight. The June 24 ceasefire ended the fighting, but left the core disputes unresolved. Iran and Israel's animosity, the nuclear question, and regional rivalries all persist. Iran's claimed missile accuracy and the true cost of the war remain hotly debated, with no independent verification. Both sides claim victory, but the facts are clouded by propaganda and secrecy. The war forced a strategic rethink for all involved: Israel's defenses, Iran's capabilities, and America's role. The region remains on edge, with the ceasefire a fragile pause rather than peace. The 12-day war's lessons and unanswered questions will shape the Middle East for years to come.